30 days ago, I gave myself a lofty goal of generating over $2,500 in revenue in my first 30 days of rebuilding my failed Pokemon card business. I would also like to generate $2,500 in gross sales within my first 30 days. And honestly, I thought that was pretty ambitious, but it turns out I was wrong. Because in the first 30 days, Dusk and Diamond Collectibles has generated over $5,100 in revenue. But there's a slight catch with all that. Almost all the starting inventory for this business was from my personal collection. So while the revenue number looks kind of impressive, and I'm sure we turned a pretty healthy profit as well, that's only because the business didn't pay anything for the inventory that it started with. The numbers just aren't as simple as they seem, and the profit numbers are definitely inflated. So today we're gonna go over everything. Every goal I had for the first 30 days, what actually sold, what I spent, what the business really made, where all of that money has been going, and whether these first 30 days are a good gauge for whether this can be a profitable side business. And trust me, quite a few things did not go as planned. Hey there, I'm Harley with Dusk and Diamond Collectibles. This is episode 5 of our 90-day journey to rebuild my failed Pokemon card business into a successful TCG side business.
And this is the 30-day check-in.
Like I said at the beginning of the video, most of our starting inventory was from my personal collection. I offloaded a lot of my Crown Zenith cards, the Galarian Gallery cards, and Pokemon Go. I'll put a card to that first video right now, but a quick recap is that about a year ago, I started my first Pokemon card business that only did Pokemon. Hey there, my name is Harley. I'm a huge Pokemon fan, and I started collecting the TCG back when Scarlet and Violet base was first released. I've been wanting to start a Pokemon card business for a while now, but I've been putting it off. So I finally decided that 2025 is the year that I'm going to start. It had its ups and downs. By the end of it, I liquidated most of my inventory and ended the journey at a slight loss. After taking some time off, welcoming my new daughter into the world, and trying to learn what went wrong, I decided I wanted to give it another go. So I created a new LLC, refreshed the YouTube channel, created a new eBay store, and I've been trying to learn from my previous mistakes as I scale this operation. In the second video I posted after coming back to this YouTube channel, I went over the 30-day goals I have for this new business. Let's get into those goals. First, I need a business checking account, which I've already applied for, just waiting on that decision. Second, I need to apply to sell on eBay and TCG Player. After that, the third thing I'd like to do is try to set up some affiliate sales opportunities. I would also like to generate $2,500 in gross sales within my first 30 days. And I've already mentioned this earlier in the video, but I'd also like to maintain a pretty consistent content schedule. I would also like to have purchased my first collection or bulk submission or something. And lastly, I would like to be in a position to be able to buy a scanner or maybe even a cheap sifter. I was thinking of like the Roka sifter that is coming out soon. I don't know. Spoiler alert, you already know we beat the 2,500. Now that we've done a quick refresher on the goals, what actually happened during our first 30 days in business? We created a business selling account on eBay, which we later upgraded to a store. We made our first sale pretty quickly thereafter. We hit 2 separate order value milestones. I just got my largest order ever. Although my store's only been open for 3 or 4 days, we just had a $345 sale across 2 separate orders. Same buyer bought both the Dialga V-Star from the Galarian Gallery and the Arceus V-Star from the Galarian Gallery. All right, I just had my new biggest order ever. A repeat buyer reached out to me about these 5 cards here. The first was over $300 and the second one was $600. We were able to buy our first collection thanks to a post on Facebook. We spent a lot of time individually taking pictures and listing the cards one by one before we started using Card Uploader. Now we have a Card Uploader subscription and we have a scanner, so things have sped up a lot. I'm still doing photographs for anything over $20. Unfortunately, TCG Player is just not accepting new sellers at this time, so we weren't able to create an account on there. And as usual, we made a couple mistakes along the way. Also hit a major speed bump that slowed down our revenue. Thanks, eBay. But before we get into that speed bump, I figured we'd go over what actually sold in our first 30 days and some eBay numbers. All right, so in the previous video, I said the 24th would be the first day of the business, but I'm going to do the 25th because that's when we actually started our eBay account. So from July 25th to August 23rd was 30 days. And in those 30 days, we made $5,146.29 in sales. Of course, that's including taxes and fees and everything else that needs to be taken out. So our net revenue from eBay was $3,714.28. We sold 192 cards in that time with an average price of $26.80, and they were all sold via fixed price. We did have quite a few repeat buyers. Everything's obviously toys and hobbies. And then our sales fluctuated quite a bit. Starting out, they were kind of high, actually. And then I didn't list anything for a little bit. So then they tapered off. Every time I listed something, we got more sales. August 15th is, I believe, when we sold the Charizard slab. And then August 20th, the biggest day we've had so far, was when we had that $600 order and a few other large orders on top of that. We've had $1148 in total selling costs. And this is where we'll go over what actually sold. So 30 of the 192 I accepted best offers on. Everything else has sold at asking. Let's switch it from highest to lowest. Obviously, the Charizard slab was the highest single sale. Then we had the Mewtwo V-Star, some Galarian Gallery Gold cards, the Stained Glass Birds, another slab, some other high-end cards, and it just goes down from there. At the beginning, most of the sales we made was from our personal collection. Obviously, that's all we had listed. But after we made that collection purchase, that started selling through pretty well also. I'm incredibly surprised that we did more than double my original goal, and so is eBay. Because we did such a large number of sales in such a short amount of time, eBay automatically flagged my account as a fulfillment risk. So all of my funds are locked up until things are delivered. Actually, I think they're locked up for up to a week past delivery for every single order for the foreseeable future. This has led to some pretty tight cash constraints. Cash flow is essentially frozen right now until things start getting released, which should hopefully be later this week. So I haven't been able to buy any collections or list any new inventory aside from the bulk and low-end singles we already have. So where my store in the beginning was a small number of listings with a large value, now I'm up to like 600 plus listings and less original listing value than we started with. But this is just a temporary issue. As soon as eBay starts trusting our account and releasing the funds, we'll get right back at it. And speaking of releasing funds, let me go ahead and finish up the spreadsheet, and then I'll show you all the numbers. All right, so this number here, the 4,800, is our actual revenue, not counting the taxes that eBay collects on our behalf. And then these are all of our expenses here. So our net profit after eBay fees, selling expenses, all of our shipping materials, shipping costs, and any other expenses we had is $1,303.12. Of course, that's a little bit inflated because of using my personal collection. But there's one other thing I would like to show you guys, and it is my operating spreadsheet. So I used ChatGPT to make this, and I think it's super cool. Although super duper nerdy. So column B here shows card sales, then creator revenue. You can read here. So this total cash in is these three columns combined. And then this takes a total expense to give me net cash. Then I input the inventory that I sold. So the value of all the cards I sold. It tells me how much I need to buy to replenish my inventory and the benchmark price I should shoot for. Then I input what I actually bought and what it's actually worth. And then that will tell me if the inventory is maintained. I would like to maintain at least $4,700 in inventory at any given point. And it says if it's below target. And then I have several goals that I've mentioned in other videos, such as having a cash reserve for the business. So this whole section goes over the cash reserve. And then after the cash reserve, I like to use some of that to pay down the debt I mentioned before. So $2,700 in debt and the pay down schedule there. Then after that, house savings. And then after house savings, large business purchases. So this whole spreadsheet goes over every single priority for the business, first with inventory, then with cash reserve, then with debt, and then home and big business purchases to follow that. So yeah, $1,300 in profit is pretty cool. And as far as I'm aware, that $1,300-ish number is already assuming that I've paid myself back for the $1,500 that I fronted the business for that collection buy. So far, we've only paid back $500 of it. The other $1,000 will come soon enough when eBay actually starts paying us again. Like I've said multiple times on this channel, we started with my personal collection, so that really inflated the profit numbers for our first month. So it's unlikely that those numbers will actually be repeatable for a little while. Revenue, maybe, but profit will be really tough. The business didn't spend any money on this inventory, so the sale was 100% profit. At least that's the way I'm doing my bookkeeping. If a CPA tells me something different, I'll make adjustments. So when we're actually purchasing the collections and we're paying a percentage of market, the profit's going to be a lot less moving forward. And I knew all that at the start. Using my personal collection would slingshot the business, make tons of progress, hopefully a lot of profit, and then things would kind of come back down to earth and settle into a more realistic cadence. So really like months 3 and beyond will be the real test of if this can be a profitable business. Using my personal collection just gave me a really unfair advantage. I'm just personally really impatient since I've already done this before, so I didn't want to start with bulk. But let's go ahead and grade my goals for the first 30 days. Business checking, green light. eBay, green light. TCG player, unfortunately, red light. They're not accepting new sellers. We more than doubled our fourth goal of $2,500 in revenue, so that definitely gets a green light. The weekly content cadence, I'll give it a yellow because I've missed some community posts and some shorts. Inventory purchase gets a green light. It was a really good purchase, really good collection, really good buying price. And we got our scanner, so the 7th goal also gets a green light. So while this first 30 days went much better than expected, it doesn't tell us a whole lot. It proves that I, Harley, as someone who's done this before, am able to sell cards in a really hot market. Congrats, right? What will be more interesting is seeing if I can continue to buy collections at the right price, process them efficiently, have a good inventory system, and sell through inventory at a decently sustainable rate. Anyone can do just about anything for 30 days. And I realize that. So it's time to see if I can put my nose to the grindstone long enough to actually start seeing some real results in the long term. If you're interested in following along on my journey, please be sure to subscribe. If you'd like to see this business from the very beginning, check out this playlist. And in the next video, I'm going to be going over my why, what drives me to do this business, and in life in general. That'll be right here. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support. I'll catch you guys next time.